Welcome guys, my name is Independence, and in this video I'm going to be covering the changes to the Holy Paladin in patch 5.2. Patch has dropped, everything's alive, and this is what's going down. Alright guys, so first things first is, I'm going to be going through the talents. What's changed in the talents? Well, we're going to start at the beginning of the patch notes. The first thing is Light's Hammer. It's been changed so that it applies a 50% snare for 2 seconds to targets that take the damage. This could be good for RBGs. Take a look. Throw it down. Arcing Light. It's 2 seconds, so if they get out of it, they'll pretty much stop being snared, but for as long as they stay in it, they keep being slowed. That could be good for RBGs. The next would be Hand of Purity. Hand of Purity has been changed so that in addition to its effects, you also take 10% less damage. So it's kind of like a Bart skin that you can throw on other people, except 10% damage, and it reduces dots. This could be good versus dot cleaves. Not too sure how it fares against all the other options, but I could see it definitely being viable. Okay, the next change is the change to Eternal Flame. It acts the complete same way as it did before, except now, when you use it to heal yourself, your HOTS tick for 100% more. So as you can see, on myself, my HOT is ticking right now for 17.4k, 17.4k. Now let's throw the HOT on someone else. Let's throw it on this person right here. It's ticking for, ooh, it's a lot less, 2.7k, 5.6k, 2.7k. It's definitely a significant increase. The next change that I want to go over is the change to Repentance. It acts the exact same way as it did before, except now the cast time is changed from a baseline of 1.5 seconds to 1.7 seconds. If you have some haste, it'll still be less than 1.5 seconds, like mine, except it's still increased from what it was last season. Last season it was about 1.3 seconds for me, now it's 1.5. It's a little bit longer than it was before. It's just a little bit longer, so you might want to juke that extra time to try and get the kick before you try it, or if you're going to Aura Mastery it, do it right away. The next thing that I want to go over is Sacred Shield. They've changed Sacred Shield, so I like it a lot more now. It acts the same way as it did before, except now, this effect can no longer be dispelled. It's not considered a magic effect. This can be dispelled. The part that is the actual shield itself. The shield that gets renewed can be dispelled. However, the actual ability that renews the shield cannot be dispelled. I'm definitely going to be using Sacred Shield for pretty much every scenario at this point, except for RBGs. The next talent that I'm going to be going over is Selfless Healer. Selfless Healer got changed to a 20% increase healing on Flash of Light, instead of a 1/3 increase healing on each stack. So now it goes 20, 40, 60 instead of 33, 66, and 100. It still makes it instant, however, it heals for less. Instant 56k. I don't think it's enough to make me want to replace a Sacred Shield with it, but it could be very good for Rets still. Rets may want to take Sacred Shield now that it can't get dispelled anymore, but I'll save that for another video. Next thing is going to be the glyphs. The glyph of Blessed Life got changed. Now, it's the same thing. You have a 50% chance to gain a holy power whenever you are affected by a stun, fear, or immobilize effect. It still cannot happen more than every 20 seconds, but it no longer requires Seal of Insight to be active. So I could have this glyph on, which I do right now, and I could switch my glyphs to Righteousness or Truth, say I want to go Shakaden and do some damage, and I'll still be able to get the extra charge of Holy Power. Another change for Holy Paladins in particular which is intended to be a nerf because Holy Paladin CC is quite ridiculous right now, is the change to our Blinding Light. Blinding Light used to be an instant cast, 2-minute cooldown that lasted for 6 seconds. Now it is a 1.5 second cast time, 2-minute cooldown, and 6 seconds. The baseline is a 1.8 second cast time, but due to haste mine has been decreased to 1.5. As you can see, it's about the same as Repentance. So, depending on how badly you want to CC, you can pop an Aura Mastery and get a Blinding Light off within the Aura Mastery, just as you could do it with a Repentance. Finally, the 4-piece set bonus for Holy Paladins has been changed. Instead of when you cast your Word of Glory, you get an extra charge of Holy Power, it's changed so that casting Flash of Light grants you 1 charge of Holy Power. This is a good change because before, you had to have your Beacon of Light on a target and healing with a Flash of Light to get your Holy Power. Now, with the 4-piece bonus, you can get 2 Holy Powers on 1 target just from having Beacon and Flash of Lighting them. As you can see, I'll do this again. Beacon is on my target, and I'm going to Flash of Light. 2 Holy Power. This is going to make it even more important that we are, as Paladins, keeping up swapping our beacons off of the focus target. Because if you don't keep your beacon on your focus target, you're going to be missing out on a lot of extra Holy Power. Now I'm going to be going over some of the less important to Holy changes for the Paladin class, but they're still important because they affect the other specs of this class. The Avenging Wrath, Wings, has been changed for Retribution Paladins only. It's down from a 3-minute cooldown to 2 minutes. It remains unaffected for Holy and Prot, but this is important for Ret because it gives them an extra bit of burst that they can do every so often now. Instead of having a 3-minute burst, they have a 2-minute burst, which is going to up their sustain damage quite a bit. Some other really quick changes for Ret include the buff of Seal of Justice. The damage is buffed about 4% as Holy damage. Sword of Light now increases Flash of Light by 100% instead of 30%, and increases the Paladin's damage with a 2-handed melee weapon by 15 instead of 10%. This buffs the crap out of Retribution healing. Healing is pretty OP right now for Rets. Absolve is the new passive ability for Ret Paladins. Absolve removes all the harmful magic effects while Hand of Sacrifice is cast on a party member. So, say the Paladin takes Clemency, and they're a Retribution Paladin, Absolve will make it so that every time you sack someone, they get cleansed of all magic effects. So, say I get Deep Frozen and a Ret Pally puts a sack on me, that's gone. The Ret Paladin 2-piece PvP bonus now grants 1000 PvP power instead of 800. That's also a buff to their damage. And the Tier 14 set bonus has been changed to increase the damage on all seals and judgments by 10%. This kind of reminds me of the last season of Kata, where the Ret Paladins would get some PvE gear just because it would give them the extra charge of Holy Power. This is quite similar, instead it's a flat-out damage increase. I'd like to see maybe some PvE being thrown back in with PvP. It would give me more motivation to do some PvE. And finally, in this last portion of the video, I want to quickly go over the stat and gemming priorities for Holy Paladins in the 5.2 patch. Compared to the other classes, Paladins haven't changed too much in the aspect of stat priority. We still want a lot of resilience. As you can see, I still have, 320 resilience and a couple of hybrid gems with int and resil. Intellect is still our major stat due to the fact that, it gives us our spell power and helps the strength of our heals. Resilience is still very much needed. As you can see, I have 66.6% PvP resilience. That is about over 9,000. Wow, I'm just full of puns today. That is over 9,000 resilience. It's very much needed because I'm sure, as some of you guys have seen in my other PvP videos, Paladins get trained really hard when they're switched to. So we need that little bit of extra resil. I have a couple of hybrid gems with some spirit on them too. I'm not gonna lie to you, it's very dependent on what your gear is like and the type of stats that you need at that given moment. If you find yourself fighting a lot of dot cleaves where you're playing long games, you are gonna want more spirit. And if you're fighting cleaves, you're gonna want more intellect and more resilience. So it's very dependent, but overall, you're going to want a nice balance of intellect, spirit, and a lot of resilience. I don't focus too much on PvP power. And that's pretty much covering completely the Holy Paladin in 5.2 for PvP. My name's Independence. Comment, like, subscribe. Check out my channel for some arena footage. I'm going to upload some more gameplay during this week with no arenas. And I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.